work. No one seems to know exactly where this story came from, but it's sometimes told at this time of year. I told it once before, about 6 years ago, but I think it's so important that I want to tell it again. As I tell it to you today, try to put yourself into this story. Consider your own life. It's a story about a young man. He was rather immature, but eager to learn. He had a strong liking for antiques, and he was always anxious to visit many fascinating antique stores whenever he traveled in Europe, and he did that quite a bit. Once in a dusty antique store, he spotted an exceptional teacup up on a shelf, and he asked the seller, "May I see that beautiful cup over there?" And as the seller handed him the teacup, the young man suddenly heard the teacup speak. "You don't understand," it said. "I have not always been a teacup. There was a time when I had no idea what service meant. I was just a lump of red clay lying on the ground. Entire civilizations rolled over me, and I sat there waiting. Waiting for what? Then one day my master came. He took me to his home, and he rolled me and he pounded me on top of a wooden table. Again and again he kneaded me until finally I yelled out, 'Don't do that! Leave me alone!' But he only smiled and gently said, 'Not yet.' The teacup became more and more alive as it spoke, and it shocked the man. Then, vroom! I was placed on a spinning wheel and suddenly spun around repeatedly until I lost all sense of direction. 'Stop it! Can't you see that I'm losing myself?' But the master only nodded wisely and quietly said, 'Not yet.' He continued to bend me in and out of shape, and then he placed me carefully into an oven. I never felt such heat before. I yelled and knocked and pounded on the door. 'It's hotter than hell! I'm burning to ashes! Please get me out of here before it's too late.' I could only read his lips as he shook his head from side to side and silently pronounced, 'Not yet.' When I thought I couldn't bear the heat anymore, the door opened and he carefully took me out and put me on a shelf where I began to cool. Later he brought pots of colors along with something transparent. I think it's called glaze. The fumes were horrible. I thought I would gag. 'Please, have you no mercy? Please give up on me.' But he only shook his head and said, 'Not yet. You're not ready yet.' Quickly he put me back in the oven. Only it was about 3 times as hot as the first time. From the beginning I felt this is going to be my death. I was convinced I would never make it through it. I was ready to give up. Just then, as I was fainting, the door opened and he took me out. Again, he placed me on a shelf where I was left to cool. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited some more. Well, about an hour later, he came back and placed a mirror before me and said, 'Look at yourself.' And I did. What I saw amazed me. 'It is what you see now.' 'That's not me,' I said. That can't be me. It's too beautiful.' In a most compassionate voice, he said, 'This is what you were meant to be.' You know, you and I are like that teacup in many ways. We are years and years in the making. We had our moment of conception, our moment of birth. And then we ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil as we grew. We began to learn right from wrong, good from evil, positive from negative. We even got into trouble sometimes. There are times when we wonder how we could possibly make it through the heat of the furnace, the heat of the day, especially when we were in trouble. There are times when we seem to be drowning in a sea that is our civilization. When we ask, how much more, Lord? How much more are we expected to endure? And we hear, but you're not ready yet. Today is Ash Wednesday, the first day of Lent in the year 2023. In Lent, we are given another chance to look at life and our part in it. We are given another 40 days to look inside ourselves and see how we are being fashioned, slowly but surely. We will let the Master knead us. Will we let the Master knead us? And bake us, color and glaze us yet again? Will we hear the Master say, not yet, you're not ready yet? But one day, whether it's sooner or later, the Master will hold up a mirror in front of us and say, this is what you have become. This is what you are meant to be. And then it will be time for us to move on to a new plane, a new place, and be that finished work. But in the meantime, we begin another 40 days for introspection, for searching within our souls, for using self-discipline, for learning about heat, for growing just a little bit more, even though we may not know exactly where we are headed or where we will go or how we will get there. My friends, we have come through a great pause in life, in the life of the world. Some called it COVID-19. It has tried our patience, just like the teacup's patience was tried. And I can really identify with that. Now it is time to look into a mirror that God is holding before us and let Him show us where we need to go. Be that empty teacup as we begin this Lenten experience. May our journey this year be a holy one. May we be filled with God's unconditional love and not be empty anymore, but have that love in us. And may we be willing to give that love to other people. So I think that's the bottom line. The accepting and giving of unconditional love. Amen.